Hey everyone, and welcome to Read This Now, the weekly webcast where Brad Gustafson and I share two books that we love and we think you should read. When, Brad?
Read them right now. And I thought you were going to say where Brad Gustafson gets a lot of good ideas on books he should read from Jen, but that's just too long. That's too long of a hashtag. So we went with Read This Now instead.
And it would be incomplete too because the relationship goes both ways. I think we both cost each other money and we add to our never-ending to be read pile. But what a good problem to have, right?
No kidding, right? If you're going to spend money, you may as well make it on books, right?
Exactly. So what have you read this week? Lay it on me, friend.
All right, I have a really unique title to recommend that I think is just perfect for today. So the book is, I'm going to tell you why it resonated really quick, and then I'll just share. Beautiful illustrations. It has some factoids in it describing different types of poetry. So it's Dictionary for a Better World. That's the book. Okay, maybe you've heard of this thing. And so in addition to having, like, for each letter of the alphabet, a really powerful word and some conversation starters, it has the factoids that teach you like what type of poetry the author used for that thing. And I am it's really weird. There's no way this will sound good, but like, I love poetry and there are certain kinds, like I always say my middle name is acrostic. Did I say that right? Is it acrostic?
You did.
Anyway,
you did.
So when I taught second grade, I prided myself on my quality acrostics, but there are a lot of different types I love. And then this book, of course, has lots of other ones that show truly how shallow I am. There's a lot of other great poetry in the world, but it's been fun, like, reading about them and studying them. And I just feel like in high school, I just didn't pay attention or care enough about some of this stuff. But now as I'm older and value it more, it's like, gosh, I'm quite sure a lot of my teachers taught me about a lot of this stuff. And apparently I only remember the acrostic part. So it's been good to relearn this and, just invest in it. But I picked out one I wanted to share with you to give you a flavor for this book. So for those tracking at home, Dictionary for a Better World, Poems, Quotes, and Anecdotes from A to Z by Irene, Latham, and Charles Walters. Okay. And here's an example of the format. I picked the B because the word is belonging, because one of our school-wide beliefs deals with restitution and belonging and just how important that is. And so I just totally jumped out at me. But here's like the little factoid. So it's like a minor part of you can just tell it doesn't have much to do with belonging, but it does teach you the type of poetry that was used on this page. And it happens to be a pantoum. You familiar with that, Jen?
No, I don't think so.
Wow, this might be a show first. I kind of taught Jen something, even though I couldn't really teach her. I pronounced a word Jen didn't know. The joke would be on me if I butchered the pronunciation so badly that you actually did know the type of poetry, but it was unrecognizable because I said it wrong. That's probably.
I won't admit it at this point if that's the case. I promise. You're going to get your moment in all its glory.
Yeah. So an example would be when I walk into the room, all I want is to fit in. Can new friendships bloom? How do I begin? All I want is to fit in with this fresh group of friends. I know it can't begin until someone bends. Do your fresh group of friends. How about you be you? I'll be me. When someone bends, that's the key. Yes, you be you, I'll be me, and new friendships will bloom. I'll turn the key, I walk into the room. And then it teaches you a little bit about the poem. And so how I envisioned using, and there's even more to it for each letter of the alphabet. There's some teaching points, there's some quotes, some action points. Like, as an educator, this to me isn't the book that I would read cover to cover, but I would pull bits and pieces and revisit it throughout the year and have writing and reading and science lessons and all kinds of things that connect to this, while also having conversations about real life stuff, like belonging, right? Like when we see counterexamples in the news or examples in the class that fit it really well. And then the other thing I wanted to share that's also really powerful, this isn't the intro of the book. So it's actually Words for a Better World, and it's not a cheat sheet of all. This is not a table of contents. So it's not telling you all the words. It's like a fresh poem with a new take on things. So it starts out, and I won't read them all, but like awash in attempts to help cool our fevered world. We begin simply with words. We savor syllables. We consider history and meaning. We forge ahead. D, determination, trying to do what's right, though each step is filled with uncertainty. It's very powerful and profound. And for people who love to try to make a difference, who love to learn, who love to like include others and stretch and like have challenging conversations, I just thought what a great, like this is a really powerful intro, especially for, I think both of us would qualify as word lovers. So I recognize that book talk was probably a little bit all over the place, but honestly, so is this book. So it has the organized theme of a dictionary, but then each page has so many different elements, right?
Gosh, it looks beautiful.
Yeah. Oh, it's incredible. It's really, really, really incredible. And I actually think you, quite honestly, would love this, Jen, and probably it'd be something you would revisit many, many different days. So for all of those reasons, I recommend you read this now. Dictionary for a Better World.
Oh, it looks lovely. That's one of those books that's been on my radar. Like I've seen it around, but I haven't read it yet. But now I need to bump it up because it looks awesome. And it looks like also I find books like that are the kinds of things as an educator, if you're reading another text, you're in the middle of a class novel, or you're doing literacy circles or literature circles rather. And you can pull out a poem to go along with that and use it kind of throughout the whole year.
Well said. And I will say, like, I always joke that math is everywhere, just like art is everywhere. It's not this separate subject thing. And just like reading is everywhere. You just hit the nail on the head. These poems could be integrated into anything we're talking about, so that poems aren't some separate subject that maybe kids either like or they don't like, kind of like me in high school, but they just learn to appreciate as part of the natural cadence of our life and art and like savoring syllables, like what I just read. As far as ages, in case anyone's wondering, I honestly think all ages. This isn't a book that you would hand a kindergartner and say, knock yourself out, but from a guided, like teacher-led or principal-led conversation standpoint, there are certainly words like belonging, right, would fit right in with kindergarten teachers and our kiddos at our school, and it would connect to really the vibe and the goal and the vision that we have. So
I love it. Well, as usual, Brad, our books are connected in unexpected ways. Look how we said we do this every single week, it feels like, and we have no conversation prior to this in terms of what books each week it's a surprise, right? I keep waiting for the week when we've both read the same book. At some point that is bound to happen, but it hasn't happened yet. However, this week I also read a book that is not entirely verse, but a lot of it is. And I'm going to speak to that in just a minute. But first, I heard about this book because a friend of mine was book talking it and sharing how much she loved it. And I got real excited because this is the time of year, it's November now, and it's exciting for me to happen upon a book at this time of the year that is absolutely, if not my favorite, then one of my very favorite books of the year. It's exciting when you're getting towards the end. Even though this book was published a little bit earlier in the year, I didn't find it until now. And I'm just excited to have this one on my 2020 list. And
that's a big statement.
I know, especially because I think this year has actually been a really good year for middle grade books, for books to come out for middle grade readers, that sort of sweet spot of 4th to 7th grade, somewhere in there. And so to say that this is at near the top of that list for books in that category is really a lot this year, because there's been some steep competition. But I'll reveal the title in a minute. But first, I just want to tell you, it's a story about these kids. There's 4 of them, and what we know initially that they have in common is that they have all failed the Florida Rigorous Academic Assessment Test, which is the name in the book for the end of year assessment. They've all failed the language arts portion of it, and so therefore they have to go to summer school. Now you can imagine the acronym for the Florida Rigorous Academic Assessment Test is FRAAT, but they have switched those letters around so that they can call the test the FART. And all they do is what they have in common is they have all failed the FART test, and they are forced to go to summer school. And you can tell from the beginning that this summer school is definitely treated like an afterthought. They don't get to be in a real classroom. They have to have class under the stairs while the classrooms are being waxed. The classroom floors are being waxed, etc. And none of them want to be there. They all hate reading. But what we learn very quickly is that they all have other really special and profound gifts that are just not measured on the test. And one of the other things that they have in common is that they all love this video game called Sandbox. And if you've taught kiddos around this age, then Sandbox will sound strikingly familiar to Minecraft to you, okay? And the whole story revolves around these four kids in their summer school class and their teacher, Miss J, who desperately, desperately wants to help them pass this test. She makes an agreement with them early on that for every minute they spend reading in class, she will give them a minute in which they get to teach her Sandbox, the game. And through that exchange, oh my gosh, they learned so much about each other. First, they learn all the talents and gifts that they have that the traditional education system doesn't value or even makes them feel aren't gifts at all.
Jen,
They
I'm
learn that
dying. I'm on the edge of my chair here. Are you going to tell us
I
any
am.
of their
I
gifts?
am.
Okay, I want to know like a gift here.
Yes. Okay. So they are divergent thinkers. One of them, for example, is an artist and he expresses himself visually. One of them is a mathematical thinker and thinks a lot about systems and maths, but not in a like an equation kind of way, but rather in like a contextual building kind of way. They all have different ways of looking at the world that they're really able to express themselves in the game with, but they don't get to express themselves that way in school. And what they learn by getting their teacher in the game and making her play is that not only does she have some gifts that you wouldn't even recognize in school as a kiddo, but also she's kind of stuck in summer school too and doesn't really want to be there. So they have all these things in common that they don't even know. And they go on this journey where they not only have to fight some monsters in the game, but they also get to fight back against an educational system that really isn't designed for them and the kinds of thinkers that aren't standardized. But in addition to all that, because doesn't that book sound awesome? Just like that alone.
Like it sounds really, really great.
What is also awesome about this book is that it is written in all sorts of different formats. Two of the kids, their chapters look like poems that are written almost like code. Okay.
Wait, I can tell you what kind of poem it is. Hold on. No, just kidding. Sorry.
Some of the chapters are written for one kiddo who is who doesn't like to speak but instead likes to draw. All of his chapters are his drawings with wordings around them. Some of the chapters are written like the chat rooms in the game. And some of the chapters are even written like standardized test bubble sheets that they have filled. Yes, that they have filled in their own ways. It's crazy. All the formats are so engaging and exciting for kids as readers. I mean, I could just imagine so many entry points for different kinds of readers to get sucked into this book by virtue of the format alone. But then the story itself is so fun, so important, so funny, and yet also I think really meaningful and speaks to what makes us all special. So finally, I want to reveal that the book is called The Kids Under the Stairs, BenBee and the Teacher Griever, and it's by K.A. Holt. And I think you should read this book right now.
I think I'm going to have to. That sounds incredible. The title is interesting. The font, Jen. Well, the title is interesting, but I've never really seen font that small for a main title, or at least the start of a main title.
Yep. And you've got like, see, like there's like a hint as to what gameplay sort of looks like. We can
Mhm.
see the ghosts that they're kind of trying to avoid in the game, but there's also some ghosts that might melt your face in real life too. There's all sorts
Mm.
of parallels between gameplay and real life. And it's interesting, I think, especially as a teacher, you read it with a different lens because I could have swapped out the names for every one of these kiddos in this book with some kid that I taught. Like I
Mm.
felt like I knew these kids and how sometimes it can be frustrating because you need them to succeed in the measures that are created by school, but then you also recognize that those measures sometimes just don't fit our most divergent thinkers.
It reminded me a little bit of the Unteachables. Have we talked about the
Yes.
Unteachables yet?
Yes.
I wonder if
You
that would
have
be a,
talked.
what's that called in the literary word? Like a book pairing or?
It absolutely could be called a book
Okay,
pairing.
okay.
I think, yeah, I mean, I don't think there's a specific term for that, but
Okay, all right.
I think there's absolutely some connections between those books and some others.
Yeah.
What was interesting to me about this book was the format. We've talked before about
Mhm.
illustrated novels, especially for those middle grade readers, where they're not a graphic novel where it's fully illustrated, but you've got a novel that has illustrations with it. This is like a branch from that tree. I think a lot of kids will respond to it.
Very, very cool. Thank you.
Thank you. Well, Brad, I can't believe we're getting close to the end of another year of Read This Now. Where can our 3.5 viewers locate our archive with all of our videos and book recommendations over the years?
I'm going to tell you where they can see our list in a sec. I'm going to add, we should talk offline or have in the after party about
Ooh.
possibly a best of for the year. Just, I don't know,
Oh,
favorites or something. That might be a fun
yeah.
kind of recap show because it's hard. It's hard. Anyway, that's another conversation.
Yes, that'd be fun to have an
Yeah, I
end
think it
of
would.
year. You know what? We're having this planning session on our show, but the Youth Media Awards happen in January. So maybe we do a Read This Now uh, prediction show or like our picks for some of the Youth Media Awards. Like we could do our own
Mhm.
picks kind of thing. We'll think about that.
Yes. Okay. bit.ly/read_this_now, and you could peruse a list, and you never know, you might be able to pick who we pick as a year-long honoree if
You
we go in
never
that direction.
know.
You never know. Good stuff. Always
And
fun,
we'll
Jen. You're always adding great books to my repertoire and to be read list. So thank you.
at you, and especially during this crazy time, it's just wonderful to be able to talk about books and joy and things that connect us rather than things that divide us. We need more of that, I think.
Thank you,
Happy
Jen.
reading, everyone. Have a great week.